So now you have seen how three sectors are interdependent. Now let us talk about the comparison of the three sections. We will do the comparing of the three sector. The various production activities in the primary, secondary and tertiary sectors produce a large number of goods and services. Also, the three sectors have a large number of people working in them in to produce these goods and services. We know that so many people are working in primary sector, secondary sector and finally in tertiary sector. So next step therefore is to see how much goods and services are produced and how many people work in each sector. In an economy, there could be one or more sectors which are dominant in terms of total production and employment. So, while other sectors are relatively small in size, we cannot say that in this sector only there are more workers and in this sector always less workers. It depends. It depends upon the need. So, it can be there can be variation in that. So, how do we count the various goods and services to know the total production in each sector? Beta, with so many thousands of goods and services produced, it is really very difficult. It is not possible to compare three sectors. It will be very complicated process as all sectors are producing different goods and services. So what can be done for this comparison? For this, we need to find a common factor, and that common factor is money. Every good and each services have a value. If we add up value and services of each sector, then we can compare the three sectors. Students, in your first chapter of economics, you have done many terms, and in those terms, a very important term that you have done is GDP. So now we will do according to the GDP. What is GDP, students? It is gross domestic product. The sum of all goods and service produced in a country in an accounting year is called GDP. Every good and service has a value. Calculating the value of all goods and services in a sector can be used to compare the three sectors. Now, how can we take this GDP? Let us take an example. A farmer grows a wheat and sells it at rupees 8 per kg. And afterwards, naturally, the wheat which farmer has produced or grown, he has to give it to the other who is in need. So that will be taken by a trader. Now the trader, what a trader does, he grinds and makes the flour and sells at rupees 10 kg. Naturally, because grinding and all that will also need expenditure. So what the trader will do, he will take the benefit of 2 rupees, or you can say benefit, or you can say cost of making the wheat. So what he has purchased on 8 rupees, now he is selling that in rupees 10. And finally, that wheat is taken by a manufacturer. Why manufacturer is taking? Naturally, because the final product will be made by him. So a manufacturing unit adds sugar and other things to make cookies and sells at rupees 60 kg, because he has to add up the expenditure of so many other things also. So he is selling finally this good at rupees 60. Now students, can you guess how to get the GDP? For getting the GDP, do you think we will add first rupees 8 and then rupees 10 and then finally rupees 60? No, we cannot do in this way. We only include the value of final goods and services, that is 60 rupees. So the value of final goods and services produced in each sector during a particular year provided the total production of the sector for that year. Why are only final goods and services counted? In contrast to final goods, goods such as wheat and the wheat flour is in this example are intermediate goods. Intermediate goods are used up in producing final goods and services. The value of final goods already includes the value of all the intermediate goods that are used in making the final good. For example, when trader took this from the farmer, he has already taken, means when he is giving that flour, to the manufacturer, he is already giving it in 10 rupees. 8 rupees that he has taken or purchased from the farmer, and 2 rupees extra cost that he has taken as the use of grinding and all that. And finally it is reached to the manufacturer. He has also included his first 8 rupees of the farmer and then 10 rupees of the trader, and finally whatever the things he has used to make it finally a cookie. It can be transportation, it can be the manufacturing unit, everything he has also included. So we cannot count the money so many times, like first how much farmer has given, how much trader has given. So in this way we will not get the real GDP. So for taking the real GDP, we only include the value of final goods and services. Okay. Students, before I move further, there is one very important question that I want to discuss. Uh, According to you, who calculates the GDP? So, students, let me answer you. GDP is undertaken by central government, of course, with the help of various government department, such as we have states, we have UTs, but main part is always played by the central government. So you should know about this, that who undertakes the GDP or who calculates the GDP. GDP is always calculated or undertaken by the central government. Fine. So let us move on the next point. I hope now the GDP is clear to you all. Now let us compare these three sectors with the GDP. Students, there is a graph you can see. This is showing a data of 1973 to 74 and the data of 2013 and 14. So it is showing the production of goods and services in the three sector, and it is shown for the 2 years, as I have already told, 73, 74 and 2013 to 14. Can you guess, like they have shown with the different colors? The color blue is showing about the primary sector, color red is showing about the secondary sector, and the color, you can say it olive color or green color, whatever you can say, it is showing the tertiary sector. So what is shown in this? Can you guess which was the largest producing sector in 1973-74? Can you guess that? And which is the largest producing sector in 2013 and 14? And can you say which sector has grown the most over 40 years? And also I want you to know what was the GDP of India in 2013 and 14. So students, this is very much clear that in 1973 and 74 and 2013 and 14, how the tertiary sector has suddenly grown. This is very easily shown in this graph. So rising of importance of the tertiary sector in production over the 40 years between 1973 to 74 and 2013 to 14, while production in all the three sectors has increased, it has increased in the most in the tertiary sector. As a result, in the year 2013 and 14, the tertiary sector has emerged as the largest producing sector in India, replacing the primary sector. Why suddenly tertiary sector has get this growth? There are so many reasons. Students, first was primary sector, which was mainly using, or maximum people were working in this sector. But with the change of time, a drastic change came in farming. Agriculture was also promoted with the green revolution. And as earlier there was a barter system. I think you all have done already what is barter system in SST term. People were not using or taking the things by giving money, they were just taking it by exchanging the goods. One has this service available, the other has the other service available, so giving services to each other, they were doing the farm production, or you can say business or whatever. So earlier there was a barter system which was used in the villages, but gradually became, because of the growth of agriculture sector, production in surplus. So naturally, when green revolution came, it increased the farming, it increased the production of the farmers. And how we will use such production? So it became surplus, it became extra. Now in surplus, when it was, naturally infrastructure was also increased, because of the development of roads were constructed and connecting to more and more cities and villages. So it increased give and take in numbers, and market system came into existence. Production of wheat and other agriculture was in surplus. So students, earlier whatever was produced, it was consumed naturally, because the supply and demand was at par. But when growth became surplus, naturally it was needed to be stored, and it started the arrival of frozen food. Now we buy so many frozen products, you also know. We always, there are earlier, things were according to the seasons. Now everything is available in all the seasons. Watermelon you can have in winter season, right? So vegetable, fruits, there is no season actually left of any good. You can have everything because of the frozen products. So what happens? Naturally, when we need to store all these things, we need some factories. So what happens? It obviously increase the need of the people who are working in the factories, and it increase the secondary sector. And now naturally alone factories were not sufficient. From one factory to the other factory, things are to be transported, and so many other things are to be done. People need to work in the, this easy day or big bazaar or everywhere. So it increased the number of service class also. So in this way tertiary sector came. So finally in this way all the sectors became important, and finally now we have mainly important tertiary sector. What is the importance of tertiary sector? As income level rises, certain sections of people start demanding services like shopping, tourism, etc. So tertiary sector expanded. Over past decade, information and technology has grown drastically. Hence, it resulted in increase of tertiary sector. For any developing nations, basic services such as education, hospitals, courts are necessary, and government has to take responsibility for the provision of these services. And the development of primary and secondary sector will need services like trade, transportation, and storage. Hence, service sectors will increase side by side. So, students, in this way, the tertiary sector has got sudden hike. Okay, so there is a very important part in your book, that is historical change in sectors. So generally it has been noted from the history of many now developed countries that at initial stages of the development, primary sector was the most important sector of economic activity. As the method of farming changed and agriculture sector began to prosper, it produced much more food than before. So in this way, we have seen how sudden change in the tertiary sector came, how tertiary sector became the most important sector in past few years. So this is all about today's lecture. Rest of the topic we will cover in our next class. Thank you students. Thank you so much.